around the person. You could use a sheet and then a blanket. We went to camp meeting, and I was thinking, for some reason I was gonna grab the tape for the treatment. I was like, nah. I'll tell you what, listen to those. It's not, especially if it's an idea you wouldn't come up with. Could be somebody else talking to you. I ignored it. And we got there, and my son was not feeling well. And he came in to me, he's like, Mom, can you do a steam bath on me? I feel awful. And I was like, well, I did bring the water to heat the water because it was what I was cooking in, And I had a plastic chair because camp furniture was plastic, that's what I had was there. And I was like, and then I remembered, I had brought our army poncho, those kind that cover you down to your feet. So this is my son Bradley. You can see the sweat on his forehead. And we used that and covered him up, and he went to bed and slept, and the next day he was fine. And he's like, thank you so much. But the point is, use what you got like you did.
And you pray, and
the Lord blesses you, and the Lord will let you know like what you have. Like, oh, I have. So I mean, literally, 1 year for my birthday, I got hives. No, it happened on my birthday. That's what I remember. But I got these hives. I wasn't sure at first where they came from, but I was breaking out. It's like, okay, what do I do? I wanted to itch everything. It's like, I only have these many fingernails, but I'm going to use them. And I was like, no, I cut them real short. But I was like wanting to itch everywhere. So I was like, what do I use? And I was like, okay, Bonita, you should know something. And everything that I knew to use, I didn't have. And I was like, Lord, what do I do? And the Lord answered me in such a unique way. I picked up a reference book and I started reading through the reference book. It was actually Back to Eden. And so I'm looking at it, the list, and as I was reading the regular print, I got to the word where it said oregano. And when I saw the word oregano, it jumped out at me, handwritten label that was on the big old bottle of oregano that my sister had given. I'm never going to use this much. Here, you take it. And I could literally see that label in the print when I was reading. It's like, I have that. Because, I mean, I probably want to remember that I had it, but I saw the label in the print of the book. So went and got that, and I took a washcloth, put a cup of the oregano in it, took a rubber band, put that around the washcloth, threw it in the tub, turned the hot water on it, got in the tub, like made it into a big tub of tea. I got in and I was like, singing, this feels so good. I think I only had to do that twice and they were gone. Of course, I had already started taking teas and stuff that I knew would take it out of my system, but I didn't have enough of those to like work on externally until I thought of that. So it was such a blessing. So there's my point in the story really is there's always a solution.
Who's the author of that?
Cloth.
What
This book here.
That one, yeah.
This one is Charles Thomas and Clarence Dahl.
Oh, Dr. Thomas.
Mm-hmm.
That's who I first started learning the hot tap and so.
So we have 3 of these for sale. If Tony can tell you the price.
16.
Hydrotherapy in the morning and the herbal and kitchen natural remedies in the afternoon. And I ended up including several things in the morning because it was kind of what we were talking about. And so I'm gonna backtrack a little bit possibly and hopefully give you sources where you can go study for yourself. I feel like we're to study for ourselves to find out what works for us and those around us. Because one thing that's readily available for me might not be available for you, so that might mean you'll use something else. But guess what? It'll work. So I believe that to be the case. And I also believe that in nature, there's what you call the insight rule. I will look to the hills from whence cometh my help. The answer isn't not from the hills, it's from the Lord. So we might be looking far away for a solution, but it's often right at hand. And so I say that to let you know that you don't have to use an herb that comes from clear across the country or the planet. The grass isn't necessarily greener over there. As a matter of fact, it might have some pollutants in it that you don't know about it because they do some strip mining in that country or something, you don't know. So also, when things aren't available from across the country, but it is growing in your backyard, there's a little bit of self-sufficiency there. It's nice to know that you have access to things, or that possibly you can make them yourself. So the insight rule in nature is whatever is growing that causes a problem for you, the antidote is within sight of that plant. So, for example, stinging nettles, usually growing within sight of stinging nettles, is jewelweed, or something else that will rub it on. It's a specific antidote. So there's other things. Usually when you're out walking, you'll find something that's a simple remedy for anything that bites and stings. And one of those things is plantain, not the banana, the plantain. And it grows on, I think, every continent except Antarctica. So find out what it looks like, be familiar with it, know how to use it. Here are some drawings of the two different types.
Here we mostly have the broadleaf.
Broadleaf.
Yeah.
So you've got the broadleaf, the Plantago major broadleaf, and then the skinny one here is the English plantain. It has multiple names. They used to call it white man's foot because we brought it with us where we were living because we knew the properties of it and didn't know what we would have where we were going. So Native Americans knew that white people had lived there, especially I guess the English plantain. But
Do you use the leaf, the flower, or the root, or all?
mostly because it has a fibrous root, it's not like a tapered root or, like a carrot or anything like that. You can use the whole plant, but what's mostly available is the leaves. Now, the seeds, on the long one, the seeds, it's in the family is psyllium, which is in most of your fiber products.
Is what?
Psyllium.
Yeah.
So, yeah.
I don't know why.
My wife's allergic to psyllium, so it's,
Well, I'm just saying that's the other thing you can do besides the plantain leaf is the seeds. Plantain is specific for poison. I've seen it draw poison out of people. I've rubbed it in my hands and put it on a bee sting, have had instant relief. I've seen cases of people that had cat scratch fever with the red streaks headed up toward their groin. They took it internally, fomentations externally. Within half hour, the pain had gone down. By the end of the day, the red streak had gone down. For precautionary purposes, they continued to use 4 cups a day for 3 days to just make sure that it was all out of their system. So remember internally and externally. But also remember that there's a solution. It might not be the first thing you see, but remember, God has provided a way of escape. He did that for us with sin, and He does that for us now. And I want to cover a couple of things that I forgot to cover before. So, this is a dry skin brush, and it can be used wet. And I forgot to let you know, prior to a treatment like what we did, or prior to, like, say you do a hot and cold shower or something like that, use a dry skin brush to clean off your skin. And the procedure for that would be similar to like the salt glow that I said. You would work toward the heart. You want to always, go with the flow to bring the blood to the heart. So that means this way here, and bring this way here, starting at your feet.
Just like it is that brush, just like that.
Yeah, just on you, before you take a shower, do a hot and cold shower, whatever. This will help take the dead skin cells off of your body. What would be the purpose of that? One, to keep your skin healthy, yes. But how do we breathe? We breathe through our lungs, right? How much breath do we get from our lungs? You guys have any idea? I learned in school that 80% of our breathing is actually done through our skin.
Yeah.
She heard that too.
Yeah,
So-
it's, right, it's 20%.
For the lungs?
Yeah, it's like 24%, the rest is, the
So
other
it's
way.
through the skin. So you want to keep the skin open so that it can breathe. Oxygen, the whole point of the pumping of the blood is to get oxygen everywhere. If it's not coming in, let's do everything we can do to let the oxygen do what it needs to do to help our body. Circulate that oxygen. So this would be done obviously, like before the shower, just, and there's certain like circular motions here, and then I think there's a certain circular motion over the chest, and you want to go with the digestion over the stomach. You can just look it up online, dry skin brushing. So that's one thing I forgot to tell you before. And that's another reason why we want to cleanse the pores when we do this procedure, so that we can have that oxygen. One of the other things I want to talk about, thank you. So Uncle Robert, this is for you. So the back side of these, we like to recycle, repurpose. So this is what you used. I don't know if you can see what this is. It's half the sign.
It's a sign that they stitch over. I had one at the farm that was a great big one that went
What's it
double over the top with
This is half of the sign,
a
but
street
it's
sign.
for the Revelation seminar. So
Oh, yeah.
if I'm doing this, you could leave it side up and people are like, what's that sign all about? So you got them pinned in there for 20 minutes. Give them a short Bible study. Not long enough to get them steaming too much. Because that's where our healing comes from. It's from the Lord. So we want to always start any procedure with prayer, and we want to give glory and honor to our Creator and Healer. So here is the next thing I want to talk about. You guys familiar with charcoal? Yes? I see some. Anybody not familiar with charcoal? Okay. This is one of those things I like to have on hand. This is just a charcoal slurry, which is basically charcoal and water. Right now it has been shaken, so it's all stirred up. But if you do this ahead of time and let it sit in your kitchen cabinet or something like that, it'll settle down to the bottom and you'll have slurry water, which will be clear up here, okay? So I do this for when the little kids that I know, or maybe the animals, they have some type of need of charcoal, but they don't like the chalk of the charcoal, or they can't get past the black of the charcoal. You just take, this is all mixed, but when it settles, you just take and carefully pour off that water, leave what's left in the bottom, and you let them have just the charcoal water. It's amazing what kids will drink when it's not black or chalky. And so,
How much do you put in there?
depends on your size of
Well, yeah.
container. But I'd say like a tablespoon to a cup. So if you got a quart jar, you put a little bit more in there.
Yeah.
But it's a good thing to have. We even have had times where we poured it into the drinking water for the animals, and it helped them with things that they were dealing with. One time, this is going back to the planting, not the jar. I think we mixed charcoal water with it as well, but our dog, Goofy Thing, saw a bee and bit it, they snap at those things, and it got it on the tongue, so it's like swollen, half its nose is like this or whatever. And we were processing peaches, so I threw a few of the extra piece, not completely rotten, but I was gonna eat it. in a blender with some fresh plantain and I think some charcoal slurry water. Dog loved it, thought I was its best friend because I was giving this one thing. And within like 20 minutes or so, the swelling was already starting to go down, and she wasn't, looking funny because of the, So she had quick relief. So with this, I'm going to. Do you guys know about making a charcoal poultice? Yes. Okay. So one of the things.
Not everybody.
Okay. So one of the things that I've often seen with charcoal is the ability to make an atomic mess in the kitchen because it just goes everywhere. Has anybody else experienced that, or is it just me? Okay, so one thing that you can do, which makes it really easy, is if we carefully put our charcoal into a bag like so, and you can do these up ahead of time and just keep them in the freezer, because trust me, a cold charcoal compress on something that's biting or stinging, it feels wonderful. So you would take your charcoal, and then you would take your binder, and in this case I'm going to use some psyllium husk. Another good binder is flaxseed ground, but that would have a little bit of a shelf life because it does go rancid. But this is going to be in the freezer, so it should last for quite some time. And just gonna make this dark. Anyway, we're going to just combine these two, and I'm not giving actual proportions. I'm sure they're listed somewhere. I'm just going to show you. I guess it's about half and half, but I think it's a little bit more charcoal to do. And there again, it depends on how much you're planning on making. So this is the miracle part of it. I made a little bit of a mess, which will come up clean, and then I'm going to mix it all in here. And once it's mixed, I'll take the air out of it, lay it flat, and keep it in the freezer. When I need it, it's there, it's ready. I can pull it out, and what I'll do is I'll take a pair of scissors or a knife, and I'll cut a square hole in one side. Not necessarily taking off the edge, but we'll cut open this area here. And then you just pull that back, stick it right on where I need it, and tape it on with painter's tape. It's wonderful. This is a really good thing, okay? It's just a quick remedy. You can make these the size of the bottoms of your feet and do a detox thing at nighttime. Just pull it out.
So what is
cut
the
it out.
purpose of doing this?
Huh?
Why do you do this? You're
Just
drawing something out?
any
through the
type
bag?
of need for a charcoal poultice. So
Bee stings, things like
bee
that.
stings,
Mhm.
other type of things. Yeah.
Insect bites.
Insect bites.
I've used them for an infection for a neighbor. She had surgery, a hysterectomy, and anyway, it got infected. And
Mhm.
she was required to have surgery again for the infection. And so it was really bad. And she missed church one week. I called her a couple days later. She told me about this infection. So I did a poultice on Saturday night, which drew out the infection. And on Sunday, and they did the poultice again. And then on Monday, when she went to the doctor for a pre-op to make sure everything was set up and go, the doctor looked at her and said, "You don't need surgery anymore for it."
Wonderful.
So was that through a plastic bag or is that?
No, it was just a
applied direct?
poultice. It was applied direct with a plastic wrap around her stomach.
This is just to keep it, so it's clean until you use it. And when I
Okay.
say I cut it open, we take off one side so that the back side has a layer to it, so it's just not spreading. This side's gonna be direct,
The
On
open
the skin.
charcoal is gonna be direct on.
yeah, and then you're gonna tape it on. Painter's tape works, it's cheap, and it stays on the skin pretty good, and it doesn't like hurt and tear, so
rip your skin
Yeah,
off.
exactly.
Right.
And you can buy the real expensive stuff, but this works pretty good.
But we prayed also.
Oh,
Yeah,
yes.
it isn't. But it was a good testimony she gave.
We'll step on
My husband got bit with a brownie fruits. It fell down his shirt when he was working under the car. And so he had a bad bite right on his chest. And I made a poultice out of charcoal and, and I think I used slippery elm or something to make it stick together. But I put it on a gauze pad, put it on there, and plastic over it, taped it on there. And then I had other liniment that I had made from the recipe in the back feeding book. So I put that in first. And it healed up. A neighbor or somebody got bit by one. They went to the hospital. They ended up with a big hole in their chest and it still has a big scar. But his, you hardly know where it happened.
Yeah. I have a story of that too. One of the things you can do, like I just made this up with water, but I could have used plantain tea or I could have used fresh plantain as the binder instead of the psyllium.
Yeah.
So whenever you can combine, especially when you're drawing poison out, whenever you can combine things like plantain and charcoal together, it's doubles, increases your,
Mm-hmm.
I don't know the actual numbers, but I just know that it seems to be more benefit. There's more benefit.
It also stops bleeding, the plantain.
Yes.
I had cut the tip of my finger off. Nice. You can't even see hardly wherever this.
Can you get it like in a powder? I mean, is it something you can purchase?
Charcoal?
I think,
The plantain.
I think
You
you can at a
can.
health food store, but it grows everywhere, especially where you walk on a path a lot and it gets packed down the ground.
So do you dry it or what do you do with it?
I use it fresh because I was gonna faint. I was starting to faint and I laid down so I wouldn't get hurt. And my neighbor girl, teenager at the time, was over there and, well, anyway, I told him to go out, my boys to go out and get me some and just kind of mushed it up like that and wrapped it around there and held it real tight.
Robert,
To use it more fresh.
was
You
it the
can do both.
plantain that
For
Reuben
something.
and Daniel used?
They-
Our grandson had gotten
He stood on top of
a beehive, in-ground beehive,
Mhm.
and
yellow
got,
jacket nest in the ground.
Mhm.
And
So
they were
then-
just
So he had
farming them.
multiple stings then, more than one.
Yes.
Yeah, what, 3 or 4
and
strings.
Daniel
They grabbed the plantain
grabbed him
from
and he
5
just
feet away and started
chewed
chewing
it
on
real quick and put it on it and
stings.
sting away like
Took
right
the
now
stings,
almost.
Yeah,
right down.
that
It was
happened.
amazing.
That happened to my younger son too when he was little and we were walking in the woods looking for mushrooms and yellow
Got the
jackets
brown
got him. And as he ran, before they was coming.
Yes,
And
that was
we
happening
did-
to
We
him.
did that with the plantain and then gave him a lot of vitamin C when we got into the house and drink water with lemon in it.
When I was going through the school of natural healing, my son was young and he would sit there and watch there's over 40 hours worth of videos and he'd be like watching. I was like, go do your homework. And he'd be like, no, this is interesting. I'm like, you're just trying to get out of doing your homework. So I thought. And then later, like, I had just accused him of that and like a couple weeks later we went out for a walk and one of the kids in the walk got stung. And I was kind of like watching the whole thing. I was up ahead, somebody gets stung, and then my kids are running. It's like because I heard somebody up front make noise. Like I'm walking, catching up to see what's going on. My kids come running past me, and because they kind of went back and then they went forward, and then I was like, "What's going on?" Next thing I know, come up to get to the scene of the crime, and this kid's like, "Will this really work?" Well, I guess it does. It's like I don't feel it anymore. My kids had ran back because they knew where the plantain was. They were picking it, chewing it. They got up to the kid that had, hold on, let me get this. And it was my son, and I was like, I guess he was paying attention. He wasn't just trying to get out of doing his homework, and this was good homework. It turned out being very useful
I
for
know
him.
this is changing the subject, but I have a question for you. What did you put on Carissa when she got burnt at camp meeting? You went out and grabbed something real quick, and you put it on her, and it took the burn away.
It may have been plantain.
Also, if you don't have plantain,
I
then
don't
you get
remember
burnt
actually.
onion and aloe vera but if you don't have that, you can just take it like a green.
It was a green plant, you got from something from
Up at
outside.
Camp Meeting, the only thing I know, cause like I planted a few things by the cabin there, there's plantain that's available.
I wasn't sure if it was by your cabin or by our cabin or.
Probably what
I
I
call
do,
it sand
there's
sticks,
other
'cause
things
they
that
grow
would
in
work, but
sandy
it's probably
Yeah,
not
they
what I
can.
used.
Look at this.
But
I
the
have
next
a
day you
similar-
can tell it was
Yeah.
burnt.
To put plantain in with the charcoal though, you would take the green leaves and probably let it dry.
You could use it fresh,
Anybody
just
don't know what
grind it up,
plantain is?
chop it up,
Please, someone
and,
get the
and,
beast done.
you know, you want the green
No,
I
juices, you know, so that could be part of the binder. So you could, you know, it
Grab the
depends on
leaf
where you're
and
at.
chew it.
So you just want the
Put it on the
juices?
beast.
I mean for freezing it like this.
Okay, so, for freezing it, you could use the,
Break-
depends on
break
what you
something.
have.
I
I'll
saw
give you
it.
two options.
So
Okay, so
that's not indigenous.
if
to
you
this country.
have,
Yeah, that is.
That kind of plantain.
if you have just dry, you can make it with tea and use the tea.
Well enough?
And if you have a powdered, powdered in there, you can add water to it to make it up.
But how do I get the powder? That's what I'm wondering.
If, well, you can dry the seeds yourself, so you make it into
So dry
powder, or you can buy it already.
First thing that comes up.
Yeah.
is-
And then the stalk
That's
comes
what I call
out.
them.
Yeah.
And then when they get
Fierce.
done, those are the seeds.
Because I felt in the sandy area of my yard. Again, because of.
So just get leaves dry and then crumble
Now
up?
you're gonna have
Yeah, you can do that.
designated area.
You can use fresh, and, you know, if you have, like, if you're at home, if you have the time, you can pick some, run it through a chopper dicer, you know, and if you're just making these, you would, you know, you could grind it up quite nicely. It just depends on how quickly you need to use it.
That's what I was wanting to do is make some of those.
If you make these, you could use, you know, the tea and or fresh. The tea might have a tendency not to go bad, but I mean, if you're gonna throw it in the freezer until you use it, it probably doesn't matter.
Yeah, that's what I was thinking is to make some of those like that, you know, make
Yeah.
them dry out.
Another thing that could be used as possibly for the binder would be clay, which also has a drying property for it, so you would substitute the psyllium for the clay, and, cause that does have a pulling
And that's
ability to
clay.
it. I'm gonna go back to your, brown recluse story. My sister called me and said, I got a bug bite, and, what should I put on it? So I told her to do, poultice, like a charcoal poultice, and then I told her to put some plantain in with it, and I was like, and I said, do you have any of that complete tissue and bone? I said, she's like, yeah. I said, break open a capsule of that and put it in there. Complete tissue and bone formula has nothing to do with drawing or pulling out a bug bite. And I was like, I got off the phone, I was like, why in the world did I tell her to do that? That's kind of stupid for, well, the Lord will bless it. So, she calls me later and she's like, yeah, I didn't completely, I put a cup over that bug or that spider so the cat wouldn't eat it. I went back, it was kind of smushed, but I figured out, I think it's a brown recluse, because she'd looked it up, figured out what it was and looked it up. She didn't look up what brown recluse do to you. She just identified the spider. And I was like, you said bug bite, not spider bite, not brown recluse. And she goes, so? She goes, my foot's doing better, it's going away. I put the poultice on, I put another poultice on, I changed it, it's looking good. I was like, but Brenda, she's like, it's fine. So, anyway, she was getting better, and so I didn't worry about it. And I realized that the complete tissue and bone, it actually regrows tissue and bone, and that's how the brown recluse works. It kills the tissue,
Right.
and it'll leave a great big hole. It'll, you know. So I was like, well, I wasn't freaking out. So she hadn't told me what it was, so I didn't freak out at the beginning. And so I'm freaking out now, and she's like, it's fine, you know. She calls me back like 2 days later. She'd done some research. If you hadn't told me what to do, I'd be in the hospital right now, getting my foot amputated. I was like, don't freak out, it's healing, right? She's like, yeah. It's like, well, good thing Lord didn't give us our freak outs at the same time. But it's very powerful what these simple things can do. And I've seen cases where, you know, similar time, one person gets, like what you just told.
And I forgot the first part. he was alone out there under this little the truck that had been sitting there, and didn't know that. And so he always carried a thing of tiger balm in his pocket. That's like a balm.
Mhm.
And he just slathered some of that on initially, but then when I came to where I was,
Yeah.
then after that we did the poultice. And it's all healed.
And the tiger balm would have brought the circulation there so that the tissue wouldn't have as much of a chance
And
to
one
die,
thing
because
we
your
always-
circulation is gonna keep it alive.
And through those years, I always carried a little bottle. I always made my herbal liniment out of Dr. Jethro Kloss's book, Back to Eden. And we poured that on. And that's another story. I won't take your time up on that, no, but amazing.
So, the point in this is these simple things that you can have. So, here's Dr. Thrash, and Dr. Thrash and Thrash's book on charcoal. I do believe they do a small snippet in here about how to make your own. So if you're willing to make your own charcoal can be purchased. Now they say that, depending on the type of wood you make it from, like they make charcoal out of willow, and it seems to have more of a pain relieving effect, because willow is where you get the cetizoic acid. Yeah.
It's better to get the activated, well, especially if you're gonna take
Oh,
it
yeah.
internal.
Yeah, the activated charcoal, most definitely, and it as long as you keep it closed tight, which I do right now, it has a long shelf life. So as long as you're not adding water to it or leaving it open, okay? So, and then if you want another book that has a lot of practical application and just a lot more knowledge, is another book on charcoal. This is another really good one. I'm not through it yet, so.
Does that one tell you how to activate it?
I'd have to look. I think this one does teach you how to make it. I know there's a small
I
one.
know what they
and
used to
this.
say to activate it. You watch your charcoal burn to a certain point where it's all on fire, the entire pieces, and take it and quench it in water, and that would make the charcoal shrink so fast that it like makes air pockets all through it, which is activated charcoal.
I think that the demonstration they gave in here was to dig a hole and put your fire around a sealed canister, same as you would make like char cloth. We'd be reenacting in the little char cloth that you make for fire starter kits. It's done the same way, where you say you take an old coffee can or something and you put your small pieces of wood in it. You're shaking your head. You've seen it done? Yeah. Have you ever done it? Then you need to be telling me.
It was a long time ago.
Stuff, your OxyClean, things with hydrogen peroxide is another thing that I do clean with, because it'll disinfect without that smell. It has its own smell, but it's not so much. So here's one thing I want to show you guys while we're on that topic, and this is soap nuts. Are you guys familiar with these?
Oh,
Are
years
you?
ago, it's been many years.
So these are a nut that grow on a tree. The tree is from India, but you can get them at some health food stores. I got these, I think, at Apple Valley, but there was it Sprouts? I don't know what you guys have, or if you have anything like that on here.
Fresh Time,
But you can
any
buy
kind
them
of
by
place
the
like that.
you can buy them by the pound online. Here's some. I'll let you guys look at these later. But these are they. They come usually with a little baggie that looks like a reusable tea bag. We put 3 of those in the little soap dispenser, and then we just count. We have a little
Small whiteboard.
whiteboard little thing, with a erasable marker, and we mark down how many times we've used them. We usually get about 5 loads with those 3 nuts.
You mean 5 loads?
5 loads of laundry with 3 nuts, 3 soap nuts. Sometimes more, depending on if the load was small, short cycle. And then we'll just kind of see if there's still soap left in it at that time. If there is, we'll do another rinse or another load or 2. we bought a bag of, was it about
Pound, I
a
think.
pound bag? And it lasted, my husband and I, our children still live at home, so there's 4. Now Larissa's married and they're living in the trailer out back because their place isn't ready. So there's 5. And that bag of soap nuts lasted us,
Probably 9 months or better.
yeah.
How
So,
much do you put in your laundry?
huh? 3, and then they get about 5 uses from those 3 nuts. So I just wanted to show you.
You just put the nuts into the washing
We
machine?
put the nuts in a little bag. They come with a reusable, it looks like a little tea bag. You put them in that, you put them in the soap dispenser.
And we have
We
a
get
front
about-
load washer.
Yeah, we have a
so
front load washer.
Your
So-
washing machine.
Can you use them in an agitator?
I think so, and if you just, when you get them, they'll say washing instructions with them. But it can also be used as shampoo.
That's all I know.
If you like stick a little stick blender in that, we'll probably take the nuts out, but put a stick blender in that, it'll whip up enough for shaving cream. And hair, you can use it for shampoo and different
So
things.
does the soap nut grow on a tree?
It grows on a tree. It comes from India. So there's other plants that give you saponifins, the soap, and those are yucca plant and the soapwort. And I'm told the soapwort grows around here, and I know some people that. Have you had experience with
I
that?
have.
Soap
Yeah.
worked?
Soapwort.
Yeah.
It's also called Bouncing Betty because like
Yeah.
the soapers, the laundry ladies used to be called Bouncing Betties. So it's another
Also
name for
in
it.
California, I don't think it grows here, but there's a plant,
That's what they're
the,
like.
the bulb underground in it. And my granddaughter and I went and found one. I was gonna try to bring it back to Wisconsin, but I didn't
I
know
know
if I
that
could.
And what
Yucca
else?
root has saponifins in
This
it.
was, but this wasn't
It
yet.
wasn't yucca.
No, what else did you say it was? You said the soapwort and, the
Feel-
soap nuts.
Soap nuts.
And what else did you say?
Yucca, soapwort, and it's natural. You can look up, natural saponified plants, and you can check into that and see if there's anything going around in your area. But this is something you can order online, and look at that.
Yeah, that's
So you put
amazing.
the nuts in the
Yeah, we put
washer?
the nuts in last night in this, so that's why it's so.
I've only had experience with shampoo or washing your hands,
Here's the
Yeah.
or hand washing, but
You
not
could-
in the machine.
If
You didn't
I'm
bring
not
it.
mistaken.